Mental health. What is it we think of when people bring up mental health? When I'm feeling sad, am I in a poor state of mind? When I'm happy, is it good? If you're asking questions like this, it seems clear to me we need to spend time on a few other ideas before we come back to this one. There are plenty of ideas nuzzled in the concept of mental health that have depth and are worthy of understanding. Let's start with the concept of struggle. We all do it, every day in fact. Maybe for you, it's the struggle of dealing with an irritating boss. Maybe you have a child, and the burden of their development as it rests at your feet has grown more and more difficult. Maybe it's just as simple as financial difficulties. Regardless of your struggle, the point remains, it is always present. So present, in fact, that you might say that struggle is the foundation of existence itself. Before we go any further, if you're enjoying the video, please make sure to like and subscribe to my channel for more videos just like this one. Does the presupposition of the human experience being tied directly to struggle seem a little dramatic? Maybe. Maybe consider looking back into history for stories that support the claim. Whether you're the religious type or not, this story should resonate. In the Bible, God sent His only Son to earth in human form, Jesus. Jesus spent His life in struggle, which led to torture and eventual death by crucifixion. That's a story thousands of years old, yet the message remains the same. To be human is to struggle. So how is it that we all do not crumble? Why is it that we all don't withdraw or lean on alcohol and drug dependencies to attempt with coping with our burdens? The truth is, many of us do. Much of that has to do with the burden we bear and how we prioritize them. Tying burden to struggle isn't necessarily difficult. What is interesting about this theory is that for some, burden comes from an overwhelming responsibility and confusion on how to tackle it. For others, it comes from a complete lack of responsibility, most of which comes from a nihilistic view of reality. For those who don't know, nihilism is essentially the idea that life has no meaning, and everything you do is insignificant. Regardless of the perspective you take on, again, the truth remains. You will struggle. You may find yourself thinking, well, Paul, which side are you on here? If you've seen more than just this video of mine, I would hope that answer would be obvious. But if it isn't, I'm happy to clear this up. I believe that everyone has a burden. There are some that you get to prioritize over others. Through this theory that struggle is inevitable and a fundamental idea in our shared reality, I believe the answer becomes evident. Because you can't know for sure if there is meaning or not, why automatically assume that there isn't? Because a clear societal idea for meaning hasn't been established. The only excuse for someone to have a nihilistic perspective seems to be because it's easier. But why would it be easier? Because if everything is insignificant, then there's no reason to adopt any responsibility. Why do anything? It doesn't mean anything anyway. The struggle there is obvious. Would struggle with being itself. What's the worth in your time here, and how could you spend it? Alternatively, you can find meaning in our establishment that life is struggle. Why not try to seek ways to struggle less, for you and others? Why not take on a heroic stance and look for ways to help? You don't need to start with others. Start with yourself. It's still heroic. Remember that there are no stories where the hero doesn't face adversity. If there were, they would be terrible stories. To me, it's a noble enough cause to pursue, not only to help myself, but to help others, and is in fact the reason why I post these videos in the first place. It seems to me that a nihilistic perspective strips away from us our power as beings. People have forgotten how powerful we are. There's never been another species that has the ability, as we do, to collectively morph reality and then begin to negotiate with it as individuals. What do I mean by that? Time. It's not evident that any other species has the ability to understand time, let alone measure it or negotiate with it. While this realization came with the weight of staring death in the eyes, it has also brought us plenty of utility. How is it that we're capable of morphing or negotiating with time? The ability right now to control what a future you may look or operate like. That is power. You can bargain with time and work towards something right now that may have a substantial payout for you later. The payout can be money, renown, joy, much, much more. The point remains, a lot of it is in your hands, and that is strength. This is the key point to how we control our mental health. By embracing being itself, to know we are powerful beyond measure in a world we have complete control of. Consider this when considering whether you have inherent power. Things only have meaning to them once we decide to apply the meaning to it. Keep this idea in the back of your mind as we move towards how to maintain a healthy mental state. For many of us, we've taken on our burdens and responsibilities to the best of our ability. A simple organization or prioritization of how to tackle those will help your mental state. But how do we find more joy than just trudging through the mundane loop of supporting yourself financially? To start, my suggestion would be to identify yourself. How do you think of yourself? Are you a product of your circumstances, or are you more than that? Do you believe that your personality, passions, and aspirations are important factors in identifying yourself? I would wager, since you clicked on the video, there are times when you introduce yourself where you do it in such a way that makes you feel weak. For example, if I work in pizza delivery and I deeply enjoy writing works of fiction, I would not identify myself as a pizza boy. What you are doing is not presenting yourself, but instead presenting your circumstances, which do not define you. Instead, I'm an aspiring writer. Gosh, how much more hopeful does that sound than your current job or circumstance? What I'm saying is, present your best to people. It's not lying like you may think it is. It actually tells a more significant truth about your being than Pizza Boy could ever describe. I know the saying, speak it or think it into existence, is a little played out. The psychology behind positive self-image and self-talk is clear. This is not to say there aren't some of us who suffer from chemical imbalances and could be severely depressed because of that. That is absolutely the case for some people, and I would make sure you seek a clinician to find the best course of action. For the rest of us, we have the ability and control in our lives to make sure we align with what's true and beautiful. Engage with that by speaking to ourselves positively and act in a way that moves ourselves towards those truths every single day. I believe those things help us find joy in our lives. If we operate under the presupposition that life is struggle, then what is more noble than to present the opportunity for joy for you and for others? If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe. This helps YouTube to put this forward to more people's eyes. Also, comment down below something that brings joy in your life. Let's brighten a darker video with a more positive comment section. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.